Hi everyone, my name is Dipankar and I'm a developer advocate here at Dremio. In this video, I'm going to show you how to basically configure the AWS Glue catalog with your Apache Iceberg table and use Spark as the engine to read and write the data. So let's go. So the first thing that I'm basically defining here in this notebook is the environment variables from AWS. Because we are going to use AWS Glue and writing the data to a S3 bucket, we will need to define those configuration over here. Once we have those configuration defined, we will need to start with our main configurations for using Iceberg along with Spark and Glue. To do that, there are a couple of things. The first thing is the packages. So since we are going to use Iceberg with Spark, we will need to define the runtime packages over here. Once we do that, the next thing is basically the SQL extensions. So this property allows us to add any extension that we want to use. There are certain commands, like for example, in Iceberg, if you want to run a stored procedure, you might use the call command, or you might want to use command like write into. To do those, we will need to define those extensions. So this is what we are defining over here. The third property is basically telling Iceberg that this is a new catalog that we're going to use, and it's a particular type of implementation of the Spark catalog. And so here I've given the name Glue because we are going to use Glue as the catalog, but this can be any name that you want to use. The fourth property is basically the type of catalog we are using, right? So in this case, we are using the Glue catalog. So I will need to define that particular property over here. It's basically the name of the catalog and the catalog implementation here, where I'm saying it's a Glue catalog. The next configuration is basically the directory to which Spark as the engine will write the data to. We are going to create Iceberg tables. We're going to insert some data into that. So in order to do that, we will need to put them in a directory, which in this case is a S3 bucket. And finally, we will change the IO implementation to S3 file IO because we are going to write the data to object storage. So this is something that you need to use only if you're writing data to object storage. And finally, we will run our Spark environment. Once we do that, we should have all the artifacts downloaded over here. And basically, we should have Spark running, which means that we should have all the configurations ready for us to go and create Iceberg tables. So first, let's go and quickly create an Iceberg table. I already have the query ready. So what I'm going to do is basically say, hey, you know what, create table if not exists glue.this database dot sales new, and with this particular columns. So once I run that, I should be able to create this table in my catalog, and we should be able to see all those data and metadata in the catalog as well. So I'm going to show you at the end of this video at how this data is in the S3 bucket and how the data is over there. So let's give it a couple minutes. All right, and in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy a query to insert some record. Okay, so we have the command executed. So now we have the table. We should have the table in our environment in the AWS S3 bucket. So now let's go and insert some data. So imagine hypothetically we are going to insert some data that we already have with us in a CSV file. So to do that, let's go and change this table name and say, hey, insert into this particular table, and select from this particular view that basically has the CSV data. So now if I run this command, our data should be inserted. And finally, once we have our process complete of insertion, we will basically see what data we inserted. As you can see, the data is getting inserted now. And I'm going to copy the query, which basically will allow me to get all the data from the Iceberg table, which is using a Glue as a catalog. So I think we are still running on that, but yeah, now the data has been completed. And now if I'm going to run this command, I can see all the data that we inserted in that particular Iceberg table. So as you can see, we now have this data in that particular Iceberg table that we just inserted using Glue as a catalog. Now to quickly show you what the data is in the S3 bucket, I have my bucket here, and I'm going to just refresh it, and this is our database. And if I basically refresh this, I should see the sales new table that I just created. And this table basically has all the data and metadata of Iceberg. So as you can see, Iceberg has all the snapshots and the manifest file and the manifest list, whatever is in that hierarchy. and it also has the actual data files. So as you can see, the data is a Parquet file, and if we download this and view the data, we'll be able to see all the data that we have. So that is pretty much all, and this is basically a simple idea to show how to connect AWS Glue with Iceberg and using PySpark as the engine. Thank you so much for watching.